Hi, this is Rob Valley. I wanted to make a few comments about this topic. It has actually turned out to be quite interesting, but not for the reasons that the opening poster intended. They were trying to say that transgender people are mentally incompetent and therefore shouldn't be allowed to make laws. That is basically what he was saying, although he tried to backpedal that quite a bit when he's discovered how wrong he was about that. There's no reason to think any particular transgender person is mentally incompetent. It's just a stupid word game saying that trying to label what they've got as a disorder, like a mental disorder, and then saying that that's a mental illness, which it isn't, and then saying that a mental illness means mentally incompetent, which it doesn't. There's lots of different types of mental illness. I'm mentally ill. I've got depression. It's a type of mental illness. Am I mentally incompetent? Well, I'm sure some people will shout, yes, you are. But hopefully most people would agree I'm not. And most people with depression aren't mentally incompetent. They might be, but then anyone might be, so you can't make blanket statements. What this has actually shown, this discussion, is the problem when you've got bigots making laws. Bigots with an agenda. Because they're very good at spreading fear, spreading misinformation, and a lot of people buy it, especially if they happen to be bigoted themselves and agree with it, and they don't look too closely at what people are saying, and they'll just go, oh yeah, good point. Repeat arguments they've heard without properly thinking about them, don't properly take on board objections to it, and so laws can get passed that don't need to be there, which end up persecuting a minority to solve a non-existent problem. So, in this case, it's been suggested having a third area for toilets, for example. Now, I would be against this, unless transgender people actually wanted it, and I can't speak for them, of course, but I would imagine that they wouldn't, for some of the reasons I'm going to say. So, say you put a third bathroom in. I mean, obviously that's a lot of extra work and time and expense and everything, but if there was a point to it, that might be worthwhile. But you're expecting transgender people to identify themselves and excuse me, to go into this third bathroom or changing room or whatever it is, so they're immediately segregating themselves. You're expecting them to do that, when they're already an oppressed minority, they're already the subject of bigotry, discrimination and bullying. You expect them to just walk in there to show everyone around, yes, I'm transgender, when otherwise they could have almost said, well, a lot of the time they could have walked into one of the normal ones and it would have been fine and no one would have known the difference. But now instead you're expecting them to voluntarily go in this one. When they come out again, everyone will know they're transgender, and anyone who's a small-minded bigot who wants to bully people will then have an extra target. Do you think they're going to want to do that? What's their incentive to do that? Nothing. And of course it is encouraging segregation. It's saying it's us and them, you're different, you're weird, you weird people go in the middle, or you weird people go along there, we don't want you around here because you make us uncomfortable. Yeah, they make you uncomfortable because you're bigots, that's why they make you uncomfortable. Well, not strictly speaking, I mean, I don't have a problem with people being uncomfortable. If you say, like, this makes me uncomfortable, that's fine. You can't help it if it makes you uncomfortable. But if you say it makes me uncomfortable, so I want things to change so that this never happens, then you're becoming bigoted. Then you're allowing your personal feelings about things that aren't based on evidence and facts to influence policy. And that's becoming bigoted. That's taking action on it. There are certain things that make me uncomfortable. Of course there are, but I don't go around trying to make them all illegal. Just deal with it. Some things make people uncomfortable. You're never going to be able to erase that. And you're expecting men and women, transgender, to go into this one on their own. So you've got men and women together, which is kind of the whole thing you're complaining about in the first place. Is people who are focusing on genitalia, up in arms because you've got two different sexes, as you see it, in the same room. Well, that's exactly what you'd have. You'd have two different sexes, even by genitals, in the same room. But that doesn't matter because they're the transgender people. They're all freaks. They're all different. They can go in there. Their feelings don't matter as long as they don't inconvenience us, right? Yeah, that's a completely bigoted way to look at it. Obviously, some very uninformed people will say, "Oh, well, it's their choice." Well, no, it's not. It's not. A lot of the time, it's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of a lot of the time, it's the brain chemistry not matching your body. The brain and the body sometimes don't match up. This is something I didn't realise a while ago. I mean, I was never bigoted. I never took any action, but I didn't understand it properly until I studied it. But now I do understand that it seems incredibly foolish people who think it's all just a choice. I mean, for sure, some people might choose to do it, and to be honest, I don't see a problem with it. They're not hurting anyone. Who cares? What does it matter? I don't know why people get so hung up on things being a choice, like being gay. If being gay was a choice, that would make it really bad. And no, even if it was a choice, so what? It wouldn't hurt anybody. Okay, so that's why I think the third option the third bathroom option is a bad way to go. A better way to go, in my opinion, would just make things be more unisex in general. Just have, proper booths where you can shower in discreetly, change discreetly. As has been pointed out, have the stalls go all the way to the ceiling and the floor to stop all this ridiculous peeping business. So you just got whoever goes in a booth, and then you come out and you're done. No one can see what you're doing in there, whatever. If you're uncomfortable even being in a room with people of the opposite gender, even though neither of you can see each other, I don't know. Just don't go in them. If you're that uncomfortable being around other people, just don't go in there. Go at home or whatever. But the last thing I wanted to point out is about this fear mongering. It's trying to make out like there's a problem that needs to be solved, right? And it's saying like we need to do this because otherwise transgender people are going to start going in normal toilets and that will cause this, that and the other. And no, that's wrong. Transgender people are already going in normal toilets, and most of the time people don't notice. Obviously they don't notice because they're buying this fear-mongering. So at the moment it's going on, it's fine, there's no problem. There's no big problem with transgender people attacking people. So this isn't a new proposal that they come in. The new proposal is to stop them coming in. I mean, it's not going to work because it requires people to self-identify, which, this law is trying to discriminate against them. You think they're going to help the discrimination by going, yeah, I'm the kind of person you're discriminating against. Can you please discriminate against me some more? And for them to just take it lying down and go, yeah, okay, I'm a freak, I'll go in this separate area because you say so. So it's not going to work. And I mean, how would it work? You just look at someone and you go, I don't think you look enough like a man, let's see your penis. Who says people look different. Who gets to say you look enough like a man or whatever? I mean, it's just ridiculous. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so this is talking about making a change. It isn't talking about preventing a change. So if there's no problem at the moment, you're preventing nothing. You're creating problems out of nothing. And then there's this ridiculous fear-mongering about it will make it easier for people to sneak in dressed as a woman or whatever. Well, it won't make it easier because it's exactly the same. As I said, nothing would be changing. They're trying to make a change now. So it wouldn't be easier because it's already that way. People can sneak in dressed as a woman no matter what. They can sneak in, bathrooms and things aren't particularly heavily guarded anyway. If you're going to sneak in, if you're a pervert or a sexual predator or whatever, you're not going to care about stuff like this. It's not going to make any difference to you. You're just going to do it one way or the other. People can still come in dressed as a woman, whether or not transgender people are allowed in. It's just, transgender people will have fooled you before, so, it's not going to be hard. So just everything about this is wrong. There's no problem at the moment. This is fear-mongering. And I'd like people to just deal with their discomfort, If it was a few years ago, it would be blacks, before that, or, it would be different races, anything. It's just like, just deal with it. If you're a bit uncomfortable, either just put up with it or, maybe you've got a problem that you need to think about, okay? Right, well, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.